Alperen Sengun avoids catastrophic injury, and the Rockets are vying for a spot in the play-in. But that does beg the question, are the Rockets better without Alperen Sengun? Let's talk about it. What is going on, everyone? Welcome to another edition of Summit State of Mind, presented to you by the Apollo Podcast Network and powered by Big City Wings. I am your host once again, the Commissioner Kenny. In this episode, we are going to discuss Alperen Sengun avoiding major injury and where we should be with him timeline-wise. We will also discuss the Rockets' 5-game win streak and what it would take for the Rockets to make the play-in. Look, it's been about a week. There's been a lot of stuff happening. The Rockets have, come together and put together a 5-game win streak amidst the Alperen Sengun injury. Alperen Sengun went out, but we found out that it's not as major of an injury as we thought. First of all, let's freaking go. Let's freaking go, because it's not a major injury. We will take that, and I will go into depth on that actually in the first segment. But of course, let's open it up with question of the night. Are the Rockets better, though, without Alperen Sengun? The Rockets are currently holding a 5-game win streak, and if my memory serves, Alperen Sengun went out on the second game that they won. That's right, against Sacramento at the tail end. So the last 3 were played without him, and the Rockets have been absolutely rolling. Question right now, that's my question of the night. Are the Rockets better without Alperen Sengun? Drop your comment right now below. I want to know what y'all think. I'm going to give my thoughts as well on that. But first and foremost, let's just talk about the sigh of relief. Let's all do it together. The sigh of relief. That's right. Alperen Sengun, amidst the chaos of the injury that looked absolutely catastrophic. The last time I sat here, I told y'all that this was, we were not sure what this was going to be. We prayed for we hoped for prayed for the best, but we were kind of expecting the worst. Thank God for Alperen Sengun's young age, his flexibility, and his muscles, because that is the reason why the doctor said when he went through the MRI that he is very, very lucky, and we cannot count our blessings enough. Alperen Sengun escapes a very major injury. This excerpt for the article, when the news broke, was brought to us by Shams Charania. He did say, sources tell me Alperen Sengun has suffered a grade 3 right ankle sprain and a bruised knee. He will miss several weeks. Tremendous sigh of relief, but this likely ends his regular season, in which case it did collate with what Ime Udoka said in the following days, saying that they were just going to shut him down the rest of the season. It's pointless. We don't want to aggravate and make this injury worse. We're not going to try to ramp him up to try to play at the end of the season, whether or not the Rockets make the play-in. It's just not the smart bet. Take your time with him with an injury like that, with a center with that size at 7 feet. You don't want to mess around with any of the lower extremities of the body, legs, foot, ankles, knees. You want to make sure that Alperen Sengun's fully functional from the legs below, just because the fact that he's a center, the way he moves. So you want to make sure that he's fully functional by the time the 2024 and the 2025 season rolls around. So I think they made the wisest and I think the smartest choice to go ahead and shut Sengun down for the rest of the season, so he can start resting, rehabilitating, and getting to rehab, so we can have him ready for the following season. The way it looks right now, so a grade 3 right ankle sprain can take either as little as several weeks, which they could have tried to squeeze in by the end of the season, or it could take several months. However, it should not take away from his summer. They're expecting at the latest a summer recovery, so that way when he gets back to full basketball activity, he'll be able to ramp it up for next season when it comes time to fall. So the schedule does end up working out in our favor. The grade 3 ankle sprain, hallelujah, we cannot expect any better than that. That is incredible news. I was elated. I was happy. Jumped for joy. It was an incredible sight to see. So I'm just glad that Sengun is operating that his legs are operating normally. Thank goodness. We're just, hope that as he continues to progress, he just gets better and we'll get an even stronger Sengun next season. So we're so happy to see that. But it does beg the question, because it's a good transition into our next segment, because I do want to talk about the Houston Rockets. They have been absolutely killing it on this 5-game win streak currently, and they are vying for a spot now in the play-in. They're 3.5 back from both the Warriors and the Lakers. I'm going to tell you which matchup I do prefer in terms of a team failing, and it may surprise some of y'all. I know some people are thinking Golden State, but the Rockets have been on an absolute tear. They shifted their offense and their defense accordingly with Sengun going down, but it does beg the question, are the Rockets better without Alperen Sengun? My straight up answer is no. They are not better without Alperen Sengun. You are comparing apples to oranges here in terms of how Ime Udoka is running the system. He had to change the system on the offensive and defensive end. Look, he's starting, first of all, let's start from the defensive end. He's starting Amen Thompson, which makes the group more athletic on defense, which gives them more ability to switch everything. So it changed the mantra of the defense as well as the scheme in which he's setting it up. It doesn't necessarily make them better, it just makes them more athletic and more free flow to do a switch everything defense. They had catered to Sengun being the center and being able to, formulate the defense around the big man to make it work for them. However, with Jabari playing now the proverbial, he's 6'11", proverbial the small ball 5, they're thinking that, that's the reason why they're playing more athletically. And I think it's so silly that there are some Rockets fans that are comparing and saying all of a sudden the Rockets are tacking off a 5-game win streak when winning 3 in a row without Alp, thinking that is the reason why, is the fact that he goes down and all of a sudden the defense is flying. So they think that that it collates, and no, it does not. I mean, Ime Udoka, this forced his hand in a way where he had to really rewrite the script on defense, and he had to completely rewrite the script on offense, which we didn't even have a chance to get to yet. The offense has changed up entirely. It's more guard focused now. It's more FVV and Jalen Green focused, where they've been able to run a little bit more wrinkles for the wings as well as Jabari Smith Jr., but they've really been highlighting it on Jalen Green and FVV. But like I said, and it's been able to unlock Jalen Green's game just a little bit more, which has been incredible. He's been on such a tear lately. I mean, welcome finally to a year 3. Jalen Green will absolutely take it. However, the Rockets, I think it's so silly that there's fans out there that think that they're better. It's apples and oranges. It's not fair to compare the two situations, which are obviously different, completely different. Alperen Sengun, the team is better when Alperen Sengun is on the floor. Whether you like it or not, the team is still better when he's on the court. So they look good now, because they're not, since they changed up the system of both offense and defense, it throws the scouting off for the rest of the NBA. So the NBA doesn't know, the rest of the teams don't really know what to expect. They're kind of going with the ebbs and flow along with this current Houston Rockets team. So that is why we're currently dealing with this setup right now, to where the Rockets are being so successful, especially with the latest game against Cleveland, which of course I will get into in a minute. But no, bottom line, the Rockets are not better without Alperen Sengun. They're flying right now, and they're on a win streak, and they're vying for it. But it's more or less, I would equate it, if you are a hardcore Rockets fan like me, I would equate it to the 2007-2008 season when Yao Ming went down and Tracy McGrady had to lead the team. It was ragtag squad with Carl Landry, Aaron Brooks, just guys like that, Rafer Alston, just Luis Scola, Shane Battier, and that was kind of the team that he led to a 22-game win streak. Was the team better without Yao? No, they're not better without Yao. They would have gone further if Yao had been healthy. So the same, in my expertise, the same translation goes with Alperen Sengun. They're succeeding right now because they're playing with heart and will and determination, but they're not a better team without Sengun. Let's just take that out of your head right now. So Be that as it may, but the Houston Rockets as a whole, though, removing Alperen Sengun from the equation entirely, because we are going to lose him for the rest of the season, and looking forward in what's in front of us, this Rockets team has been on a tear. What I'm saying about Alperen Sengun is not lessening what the Rockets have done. What they have been doing has been incredible. Like I said, Jalen Green has been able to unlock this part of his game, which has been phenomenal. And the latest part of it was the Houston Rockets win versus the Cleveland Cavaliers. Give me a second while I pull up the scoreboard. 117 to 103. This is the Cleveland Cavaliers that are hovering around the fourth seed, one of the best teams in the Eastern Conference with a superstar in Donovan Mitchell, and the Rockets team just absolutely punched them in the mouth. I mean, it was a blowout from the first half going on, and the team was just on fire, and you can just kind of see that they're playing for each other. Like, they're playing for a cause now that Alperen Sengun went down. They're finding that cause. They're finding their why as to what's going to get them going. And Amen Thompson said it best, we just got to win out the rest of the season. Want to make the play-in? We just got to win out. So the Houston Rockets do have the mindset of, hey, we're still going to try to make the play-in despite being as far back as they were. Now they're hovering closer to 500. They're 32-35 now, and they're nipping at the heels of the Lakers and the Warriors. And let me give you my opinion right now. In terms of, for the Rockets, who they're going to go against, or not who they're going to go against, but who you would prefer to kind of drop out of the play-in if the Rockets were to go head-to-head, in terms of, like, if they were to tie. People were thinking Warriors initially, but no, after, further looks into it, the Lakers should be who the Rockets are gunning for in terms of trying to exceed and getting past, or if it gets down to a head-to-head matchup, the LA Lakers are the team that you need to go after, because the Rockets own virtually every single tiebreaker against the LA Lakers, not to mention their own head-to-head matchup, which the Rockets did win the season series against LA this year. So that's going to trump everything else. So with that said, for the Rockets to make the play, and shouts to Ben Dubose, friend of the show, he did a phenomenal breakdown. You can follow him on Twitter at Ben Dubose, good basketball mind. He did mention for the Rockets to make the play-in, Houston has to finish at least 10-5 or better. Remember, there's 15 games remaining. And the Lakers need to go 6-8 or worse. So essentially, the Lakers have to lose 3 more games than the Rockets for the Rockets to stand a chance. Now, it does kind of work in our favor in that sense, because the strength of schedule is a lot lessened on our part. So the Rockets have been on an absolute tear lately, including winning on the road as well. So this team is finally starting to see some type of consistency in terms of both home and away stretches. So now, like, it's really starting to ramp up pressure with LA, and they're winning some games, losing some games here and there, but they're not on fire. Anthony Davis was out the rest of the Golden State game, so that does beg the question: are the Lakers going to be able to? They have a tougher schedule than the Rockets, so are the Lakers going to be able to hold up? I just love the fact that the Rockets, they're really playing for each other. Like I said, if we're hearkening back to a different time, this team right now, what they're doing at this moment is so reminiscent of that 22-game win streak, Houston Rockets back in 2007, 2008, with Yao going down and Alperen Sengun going down. Now, granted, it's not like the exact same scenarios. Obviously, we don't have an established superstar like T-Mac. However, the way that this team is kind of coming together, and they're kind of, they're making their point known. I love the way that they kind of changed their scheme on the offense and the defense, and you've seen it these last several games, and they've really been cruising through these last several games against the Wizards and the Cleveland Cavaliers, which we've absolutely trounced both of them. It was it's been so fun to watch this team. Amen Thompson has been such a godsend. Can you imagine, like, if you start the beginning of the season, did you ever think to yourself Amen Thompson was going to play the 4 spot? I mean, come on, like, the 4 spot at a power forward position, but Amen Thompson, he's perfect in the dunker spot. He's 6'7", like, he's actually, like, really good in that position. Like, I'm shocked at the thought of the fact that this actually is working, the scheme that Ime Udoka had to make on the fly. And shout outs to Ime, he's been killing it in terms of his coaching. He's pressing all the right buttons right now, hitting the emergency break glass to get the Rockets to where they need to go to still have a shot, still have a shot to make the play-in despite Alperen Sengun going down with the injury. And credit all around, like I said, we're circling back to the initial topic of what has made this team so good. I mean, Jalen Green has been phenomenal. Let's call a spade here. These last 2 games, I mean, he had 37 against the Cleveland Cavaliers, and he had 26 against Cleveland Cavaliers and 37 against Washington. I mean, he's made 24 field goals combined in his last 2 games. I mean, you're looking at Jalen Green finally putting it together. And I love this quote that Jalen says. He says that when they were asking him, what's led to your improvement, and he's not equating it to the offense. He's saying that his defense has gotten better, which has strengthened his offense, in which case that is what a superstar player does. He's not a superstar, but that's a superstar's mindset, that you're not depending so heavily on your offense, that for a fact that you get your defense going, it's going to ramp up your energy and get you going on the offensive end. So I love that quote from Jalen Green. He basically said that no matter what, whether he's playing good or bad, and even the game against San Antonio Spurs, he went 5 of 16. Like, he didn't have a phenomenal game, but if you're not looking just from the scoring output, I mean, from the rebounding perspective, the last 3 games, he had 11 in Cleveland, 8 against Washington, 7 against San Antonio. I mean, he had 4 assists against Cleveland, 2 assists against Washington, 5 assists against the Spurs. So he's doing everything else, and he's playing really, really good defense. So that's what's really, catapulting this team. Yeah, the scoring is there, which is great, but the fact that he's putting it together on both ends of the floor, that's what's setting him apart right now. That's where his difference is being. That's the difference between a Jalen Green, in my opinion, than a Christian Wood. And I'm sorry, Christian Wood catching strays here on an episode in 2024 for the Rockets, but Christian Wood was a guy that could put up stats, put up 20 plus points every game, but he wasn't a needle mover in terms of defense nor in terms of winning. Jalen Green is directly affecting wins right now. So that's what makes this all the more important on his improvement, on him making these steps to get better, because of the fact, one, because Sengun is going down now, but this also helps out his confidence. So when we roll over into next season, if we get into year 4 with Jalen, we know for a fact that he's going to come in with a different mindset, coming in stronger, and he knows kind of his place more on the floor under Ime's system. That's why this is of major importance. Jabari Smith Jr. as well has been killing it at the small ball 5. I mean, he's been phenomenal in terms of defensive plays on both ends of the floor, being exactly who I thought he was going to be. I mean, he's shooting an absolute all-star number in terms of percentages right now. He's been locked in on both sides of the ball, and I think that's what's made this Rockets team overall successful these past couple games, especially because of the fact that, one, they're winning the games that they're supposed to win. I mean, you took on Spurs, you took on Washington, 2 teams that you have a much better record over, that you're basically head and shoulders above this competition. You have to beat them. So the fact of the matter is that they're not wasting these games. They're actually beating the teams that they're supposed to beat. And they're beating the teams that, in a way, they're not supposed to beat. The Cleveland win is probably one of the most shocking wins I've seen this entire season. Just even though we've been so dominant, we've been so good at home, 20 plus wins at home. We've been so freaking good on the offensive end, at home. But the fact of the matter is that Cleveland is still Cleveland. They still have Donovan Mitchell. These guys are still Darius Garland. Mobley's out with an injury, but this team they have 43 wins or 42 wins during the season right now. They're firmly between the 3rd and 5th seed. They're gonna hover around that. They're one of the best teams in the Eastern Conference. So the fact that they were able to get a big win against a team like that is great, and it sets the stage going forward now. Like I said, the Houston Rockets do have a much easier schedule ahead of them. Like I said, a game against the Wizards in Washington, which they should win. I can see them going 10-5. They got 15 games remaining. You got games against the Wizards, I think they're going to win. You got a game at home against the Bulls, I think they're going to win. A game against Jazz at home, I think they can win. A game at home against Portland, I think they can win. I think they can continue this win streak going all the way into the Rockets versus Thunder on March 27th. I think this team is more than capable of actually, giving the Lakers a run for their money. Like, I love the fact that they're knocking on the door despite the fact that they were struggling so much in the middle of the season. Even about close to 3/4 of the season they were struggling. But the fact of the matter is that they're finally putting it together, and they're stretching this team forward and just putting pressure, which is all I wanted. I wanted this Rockets team to put pressure I wanted this team to make the play-in, but even if they couldn't make the play-in, I didn't want them to roll over at 10 games under 500. In my opinion, they're a much better team than that. I love the fact that there is still a possibility we can finish at 500. What a phenomenal season. If we end the season at 41-41, what a great season. What an upset. Like, we were at 22 wins. You're about to almost double your input from last season in terms of win shares. That's incredible. This Rockets team has been head and shoulders a difference maker as opposed to seasons past. So I'm so glad that they've tacked off this 5-game win streak and that they found their why. And this episode's really Alperen Sengun centric. And it's a good point to make here because they found their why. You can see this team, they're playing for each other, but they're playing for Sengun, in my opinion. They see one of their best players, maybe the best player on the team, go down with an injury, and they are saying, no, we're going to play for each other. We're going to play for him, and we're going to make teams pay for coming to Houston, and we're going to come together, and we're going to put pressure on the other teams that we're playing against, and we're going to, make the Warriors and the Lakers, these dynasty teams of the past, we're going to make them nervous. We're going to make them sweat, and that's all I really want. I want the Rockets to play in games that matter. And every game 15 games remaining on the season, every game is going to count. So you better expect it. Put on your seatbelts. It's going to be a freaking roller coaster the rest of the way. And of course, the Summit, myself, we're going to take you there every step of the way in terms of coverage. So, we're going to hope that the Rockets can go at least 10-5 or better. We're going to hope the Lakers go 6-8 or worse. And maybe, just maybe, the Houston Rockets can squeeze their way into that 10th seed and make the Golden State Warriors or whoever is in that Western Conference just slightly more nervous. I love it. The Rockets are the wrecking crew right now. They are making their names known. They are being disruptors. And that's all you need from a young team. And I love the fact that they're doing it. Let's go ahead and end this episode once again with a shout out and an ad from Big City Wings. That's right. Big City Wings, Houston's wing joint, Apollo's wing joint, one time. We got that 2 for Tuesday deal. I always talk about it. The best deal on the market in terms of wings. Buy one, get one. You pay for 5, you get 10. You pay for 10, you get 20. I'm a Gold Fever guy. In terms of flavors, get the Gold Fever. Get the lemon pepper, half and half. Do it to yourself. Finger licking good in the best way possible. Find your nearest Big City Wings that is nearest to you. That's right. Big City Wings once again. Houston's wing joint, Apollo's wing joint, one time. And that's going to go ahead and end our episode. Once again, you can follow us on Twitter at Summit SOM Pod. Follow us on Instagram at Summit State of Mind _pod. You can also follow our media company at Apollo NBA and at Apollo HOU. You can follow me on Twitter at Summit Commish. Follow my brother, my co-host at JP _Mirabueno. Shout outs to the Apollo podcast brethren that continue to kill the game. That's right. BTD, Beyond the Diamond, the Crown Jewel of Astros podcast. Give them your first listen for all Houston Astros content. Shout outs to Off the Gridiron, Apollo Texans. Be sure to give them your first listen for all Houston Texans content. And I appreciate each and every one of y'all that continues to tune in and listen and watch and making us your first listen and watch for all Houston Rockets content. Once again, I'm going to close with the question of the night. Are the Rockets better without Alperen Sengun? You heard my thoughts on it. I want to hear your thoughts. Do you think the Rockets are better without Alperen Sengun? The answer is no, by the way. But I do want to hear your thoughts on that. That's going to be it for me on this episode. Hopefully, when we come in later in the week, we have more news and the Rockets are continuing this win streak as they strive forward to trying to make the play-in. Let's end this episode, as I end every episode, with a Go Summit, Go Apollo, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Just keep winning, baby. Go Rockets. Oh yeah, one more thing. Watch basketball. Yeet!